Hi everyone, and welcome to the theory that I put together in the past few weeks. It's called the board theory. I want to show you how I simplified information that I've been learning for the past decade, and some of it even more than that. And I found a way to kind of put everything together into one cohesive story or one cohesive metaphor. You can look at it in different ways. But I really put together information from epigenetics, from quantum mechanics, from history even, you will see, and from psychology. There's a lot of things that I've learned, and I kind of feel like I found a way to put everything together into one simple way of learning how you can change your life, basically. Because when you learn to manage your thoughts, you manage your life. So this is what it's all about. It's creating a new life, a life that is better for you, one that you actually create and not one that's created by other people. And you'll understand that as we go through. I want to start with one thing. A human being needs, first of all, to feel safe. That's a core need, okay? It needs to feel safe, and it needs to have meaning and purpose in order to be able to work on that safety place and create a life that the human likes and is enjoying. So you have to have meaning and purpose, and you have to feel safe. This is important for the whole video that I'm going to be doing today. It's very important you remember your core need is to feel safe. Okay, that's number one. Another thing I want you to remember is that your brain, part of it is a prediction system. Okay, what does that mean? It means it predicts the future, and that's how we feel things. And that is just a very small bite of what a prediction system is, obviously. I just want you to remember that there is such a thing, because I'm going to start talking about it soon and explain it further, obviously. So the first place I want to take you to is about 10,000 years ago, maybe 15,000 years ago, and that is the hunter-gatherer. Let's look at these people that were living about 15,000 years ago and see how they were living their life. Well, first of all, they were all living in a family, right? A small family environment. That was the hunter-gatherers. So everything that happens to you happens within that family. The second thing is they go out a few hours in the day. They go out to get some food, berries, maybe hunt some little animals, bring it back home in order for them to survive the next few days. Nothing was, keeping things for years to come. Everything was very immediate. And the other thing is they were always moving around, because due to the weather and the seasons, they would need to go to different places at different times. They were never really at one place for a long time. Let's think of a 5-year-old kid now that's growing up within this family. What is its meaning? What is its purpose? First of all, it feels safe because it's within the environment of its family. Its family is taking care of this kid, right? So you're growing up in a place where you feel safe mostly. Obviously, there's things, and we're going to talk about them, but mostly you're in that environment, and you have your parents, your tribe, teaching you different things about life. And that's what you do all day. The second thing is the meaning and purpose that we want to look at. So meaning and purpose for a 5-year-old kid, and as he grows up, is first of all to serve its community. Right? Its meaning is to be a good part of the community, to serve better, maybe to learn how to hunt better, maybe to learn how to get berries better, maybe to learn how to wash some clothes or cook, who knows what. But that's what your meaning and purpose are. Your meaning is, I'm part of this community, I want to help, and your purpose becomes to help everybody in the community because you are a part, right? That is a day-to-day life for a kid in the hunter-gatherer family. So let's sum this up now. This kid in the hunter-gatherer family, what does it have? Family is a tribe, safety through connection, meaning through belonging, purpose through contribution, and I'll add 2 more things. Emotional scale, meaning where in the emotional scale are these people most of the time, okay? Are they in the upper emotional scale where they're feeling good? Or are they in the lower emotional scale where they're feeling bad all the time? Well, I would assume they're more of the time in the upper scale because they're just living with family, they're doing their things, and they're pretty much happy. The second thing I want to add is dopamine. And dopamine is not just dopamine, there's other chemicals, but I'm going to be mentioning dopamine to represent the chemicals in your body which are making you feel good. Dopamine is available naturally to these people while they're sitting, together and cooking and cleaning and eating and whatever, walking around, hunting, going for some berries. Mostly they have the good dopamine, I'll call it, the one that comes naturally that the body is creating because it's feeling safe and it's living its meaning and purpose. Okay, so now I want to introduce a time in the life of a hunter-gatherer which they're not feeling very safe. So let's think about the survival mode. We have this kid going out with his parents or mother or father to hunt, and suddenly comes a lion. Now, this kid was taught by his parents in the past that there are certain animals and certain situations that they need to be aware of that might be life-threatening to them. Maybe they were taught about a lion, maybe about a snake, maybe about a different tribe. Whatever it is, the kid was taught ahead of time. So the kid has somewhat of a picture in his mind that when this happens, he has to do certain things in order to save his life. Okay? So here comes the lion. What happens? There's a picture in the brain, first of all, that is connected with some kind of emotion because he was taught that the lion is something scary. So what's scary? Scary is now all the chemicals that come in. First of all, we get the adrenaline. What's the adrenaline? It's telling the body that there's an alert, something is going on and the body has to get ready for it. And then come chemicals that make you focused, because you have to be now only thinking about that one thing that is going to be life-threatening to you, right? And then comes the chemical that shuts down all the other systems in the body because it's saying, oh my God, I can't send blood now to the digestive system because I need everything right now in order to save the life. So what happens is, what's shut down? Everything that has to do with creativity, right? We're not going to be thinking now about what we're going to be cooking for dinner when there's this lion, right in front of us and we're all scared about it. So everything shuts down except for the things that are needed to focus right now on the situation and do some actions that will take you out of the situation. So let's look now at safety, meaning, and purpose when it comes through a survival mode. What do we have then? In order to feel safe, we need to be able to know in our brain and predict the future that we can save our life. And that will make us safe. So as I mentioned, our brain is a prediction system. And what it's doing right now, it's going into all the information in the database of this kid, and it's saying, okay, we know that a lion is life-threatening, but we can become safe by doing something like, let's run away. Okay? So that is a false feeling of safety because it's coming from the threat, right? So what's happening, you're getting the feeling that you might be able to become safe, and the other chemicals are helping you now to feel meaning and purpose. So what's your meaning? The meaning is my life matters. What's your purpose? I can save my life. So we have false safety, we have false meaning and purpose. And why am I calling it false? Because it's coming from a place of danger. It's not coming from a place of safety, of real safety. So you're feeling safe because you can save yourself. You have meaning and purpose because you're saving yourself. And at the end, what do? You run, right? You run away, you save yourself. What happens? You get a spike of dopamine. That spike of dopamine and saying, I survived, I'm okay. Now, even the dopamine that you're getting is not from really feeling good, okay? It's coming from a place of survival. So that is going to be called by me right now also a dopamine spike, because it's not the real dopamine that we want to get like when we are feeling safe, living our meaning and purpose. So let's sum this part up of survival mode. We have a event that happens, then we have a shutdown of the body, and we're focusing only on this event right now because we have to save our life. So we're getting a false meaning and purpose because it's coming from this event, from survival mode, from something that's scaring us. And we receive a dopamine spike at the end, so we feel good for a short time. But this whole event is designed to be a short event that ends. Okay? So if this happened in the hunter-gatherer, what will happen is it will end when we ran away from the lion ran away or whatever, and we go back home and we're back to our safety, we're back to our meaning and purpose, we're living our life with our community, everything is safe again, and we're getting the meaning and purpose and the regular dopamine of feeling good. So that's how the hunter-gatherer is living, and let's say for the argument's sake right now, that 95% of the day a hunter-gatherer is living a good life and quiet life and safe life with meaning and purpose, and 5% of the time it's living survival mode. So now let's fast forward and go to modern life and see what happened. Why did things change so much? So let's take a baby now. This baby is born into the world. First of all, let's look at this as a computer. Okay, it's a blank computer. There's nothing on it. There's no programs. Once in a day when we would buy a computer, you'll only get the actual metal pieces, and then you have to add programs in order for it to be able to work. And we also need an operating system. There are things that we have to put on this computer in order for it to be able to actually do things. So the same with a baby. A baby is born with basic things that it can do already once it's born, and we'll call those the surviving operating system. So the baby will know how to get food, and the baby will know how to get warmth, and so the baby knows how to get safety. At the first day that it's born, the first minute that it's born, right? The baby will know how to nurse. The baby will know how to cry when they want somebody next to them. So that system the baby is born with. What else is the baby born with? The ability to learn motor skills. So they can learn how to crawl, they can learn how to sit, and obviously they can learn how to walk. So that is already programmed in the system once you are born. Now this baby is also born with the predicting system in their brain, and we're going to be talking about that in a minute. They do not understand time yet. It takes about 6 to 7 years before a baby is able to understand the concept of time, future, past, times of the day. So they do not have the concept of time yet. And another thing that happens from age 0 to 7 is the baby is in what's called theta waves. Theta waves is like hypnosis. That means that anything that happens in the world can sink in to this baby's brain, and there's nothing that will stop it. There's no barrier, okay? The barrier is what we will call afterwards consciousness. So consciousness, they say, comes around age 6, 7. So until then, the baby is basically not conscious, right? So that's hypnosis mode. And this is very, very important for the next stage we're going to be talking about. So first, let's just talk a little bit about the survival operating system. What do we have in there? So we have the motor skills, sensory exploration, the ability to learn, obviously. And let's talk a little bit about learning how to walk, for example. So what happens? A baby, when it tries to walk, if you've seen this before, what it does, it tries a lot of things, repetitive action, we're going to call this, and for a long time. This is not something that you learn immediately. It takes time. Why? So let's think about this a little bit like a puzzle, okay? A baby sees its parents walking, so it knows that it's able to walk. That is like the end picture of a puzzle. You know where you're going to, and you know where you're going to need to put the pieces looking at that picture. I'll call it also an axiom. An axiom is you know without a doubt that you're able to do something, okay? So now what the baby is doing when it's trying different ways of learning how to walk, it's using the learning system that it has. What it's doing, it's actually learning now different things. If you think about this as a puzzle, it's learning different sides, it's learning different options. It falls, it learns that you can't do this, you have to do something differently. It pulls itself up and tries something, and it's literally teaching the body what to do. So when all the information is collected and this puzzle is actually put together and it's done, that's when a baby is able to start walking. So what happens? This learning becomes part of the baby's program, and you don't have to think about it anymore. Why? Because it's already done, and the body knows how to predict things with walking. So it goes into your subconscious and it's on autopilot. That's it. You don't have to do anything anymore. And that is the learning process of putting something into your programming system in order for the body to be able to do things in the future with your body. It can walk now. Great. Same thing, right? When you learn how to drive, it takes time. And if we think about this computer that we said you're born with, so when you're using all the information to gather this big puzzle, you're using a lot of RAM. You need a lot of the brain in order to be able to gather all the information. But once it goes into your subconscious, that's it, right? You don't need any more RAM. It's just running on autopilot. So that was great for motor skills. But now comes the second part that the baby is learning, and that's emotional stuff, okay? And this is where the board theory basically comes in. So what I want you to imagine is like a checkered board, and all the checkerboard, let's say there's 100 spots on it, and you have checkers that one side is white and one side is black. When you're born, all the checkers are put out white, and this is how you start your life. Everything is white. It now starts a process when you're from 0 to 7 again, and you're in hypnosis mode, you're in theta waves, everything sinks in, and now you're starting to build your own programming system, and this is what happens. Okay, so let's take two situations that this baby might be going through just to make a point. First of all, it has a loving family, okay? It has parents that love him and hug him and kiss him, and he sees the parents between them living a very happy life, and them themselves, are loving each other. This baby is learning that love is safe, that being in a partnership is safe, it's happy, okay? So what is really happening? As I mentioned, there's a learning process. And what is the learning process doing? It's gathering a lot of information, okay? For that puzzle, it has to put some kind of puzzle together. That puzzle is a story. So the puzzle is being created over time, repetitive action. It could take a month to a year even before a story is fully put together, that the body feels it has all of the angles and all of the information in order to put that story in your subconscious so that it becomes your autopilot. So it's gathering all the information about this loving family. Then what happens? It's tagged. The story is literally tagged, okay, with white, saying to the brain, this is a good story, we feel good with this, and it's looking at the chip and saying the chip is white on this, it's okay, leave it white. Okay, so we have the creation of the story, the brain tagging it with an emotion, and then that emotion represents the chip that you're going to have on your board. Okay, I promise you'll understand soon where I'm going with this story. So now there's another story. Okay, so let's look at a different couple, and this couple actually is having money issues. Okay, so this little kid is seeing, and its brain is gathering information about what money is, and it sees maybe the parents fighting about money. So money is beginning to get a black tag emotion, right? And then a bill comes and somebody is sad, and then the kid is told something about money, that money doesn't grow on trees, or people with money are bad people. The brain is learning. And what does learning mean? It means it's gathering information until it has the full puzzle, until it has the full story. And once it gets the full story, it's tagged with an emotion. So this story, for example, about money is going to say, okay, I'm giving this a black tag. So right now, this story is coming with a black tag. So what happens with the board? It's going to the board. It's looking for the story that's about money. And now it's going to take that chip that's white, because we were born with all white chips, and it's turning it around to a black chip. Now the white is not going away, it's just on the other side. The side that's being read is the black chip. Okay? So I want to just mention a little bit about the emotional scale. If we have a very strong emotion, it's something that will stay in our memory for a much longer time, and it will be taken out from the memory to be used much faster than other chips that have a lower emotional tag connected to them. For example, if I ask you where you were on September 11th, everybody remembers. Why? Because the emotional tag there was so strong that no matter what happens, you will always remember that. And that is very important to understand when we talk about how we can create our future. It's very important to remember that the stronger the emotion is, the more override it will give to your life. I will also explain this a little more when we talk about it soon. So, okay, this baby is growing up and it's collecting all of these stories. It's flipping chips on this board, okay? So some are going to stay white and some are going to turn to black. And once you reach the age of 7, what happens is you have a board now which you are going to live your life through, and whose stories are on this board. Are they your stories? No, they're your parents' stories. Now, how is this board used for your future? So now comes the conscious mind in. And now comes the perception of time for this little kid. He's still little, right? He's 7. And what does he do? In order to know what to do for the future, it needs to go back in to its programmed system. Now, what is the emotional programmed system? That's our board. So all the stories that were planted there that are black are what that kid is going to live by. How does it work? We said the brain is a prediction system. So what happens now is every single time that you are feeling bad, what's really happening? It's your body, your brain is actually living through that blackboard, and that blackboard becomes the glasses that you are seeing the world through. So for example, if you want to have a business right now, what's going to happen? The brain is going to go into your programming system and say, what information do I have here about money? And it's going to say, oh, it's not good. Money is hard. Money is bad, whatever. It has a black emotional tag to it. So now be careful. It's predicting the future for you. Be careful. People won't pay. People will want you as a business owner. There's nobody around you that's going to be able to pay the prices that you want. What is the brain doing? It's trying to keep you safe. And from where can it keep you safe? Where's the information that your brain has? All of that information is on your board. It's on your programmed system that your parents programmed, and maybe some other people too in your life. So basically, you're living your life now just like your parents. So I like to say that when you become 7 years old, the game starts. And how does the game start? It starts with the board that you were given. Who were you given your board from? Your surrounding, your parents, right? Now this might be a little mind-boggling for everybody, because this is a point where you understand that your whole life, you're literally living someone else's life. You're not living your own stories. Most of the stories that are in your programming system are not yours. They were planted there when when you were in hypnosis mode, meaning you can't even remember how they were planted there or what happened. Can you remember how you learned how to walk? No, we can't remember that. Why? Because that information was taken and put into our subconscious in order for us to be able to do it without thinking. The same happens with all of the stories that we put in our subconscious on our board. Whether they're black or white, they're all there running our life. Now, why are they running our life? Because we are not aware that that is what happened. So what I want to tell you today is, first of all, be aware. Become aware that just the way these stories that your parents planted on your board when you were young, you can reverse them. You can bring your own story and flip that chip back to white. Now, we don't know mostly what our chips are, what's white, what's black, and this is a new concept for you to think about. But you know what? When you feel bad about anything, that is a way for you to get a hint. Okay? You're getting a hint from your body that there's a black chip over there. So if you're feeling bad about a relationship, there's a black chip in there that's running you. If you're feeling bad about money, there's a black chip that's running you. If you're feeling bad about your body, about your health, there's a black chip there running you. So now the program was installed and you're living your life on this program, not knowing that that is what's happening. So that's kind of maybe bad news, but it's also very good news. Why? Because I'm here to tell you, you can change it. You can change all of it and you can feel better. And it's all work that you have to do with your brain. That's it. And I want to say again, whenever you feel bad about anything, it's only your brain predicting the future through your past stories. This is so important to understand. Okay? Because if you're feeling bad right now because of money, that you can't make money or you don't have money or whatever, that is your brain taking information from your past, from your black chips, taking that information, predicting the future for you, saying, oh, be careful, you won't have money, you will be thrown to the street, you won't have a house, you won't have your car, you won't have food for your family. That's what the brain is doing. It's predicting the future for you because it's supposed to keep you safe. That's its work. But the thing is, it's trying to keep you safe through stories that are survival. So as long as you're letting it predict the future through your survival stories, nothing will change. When will something change? First of all, you have to understand that it's happening. You have to become conscious, and as much conscious as you can. And we're going to talk about that in further videos, how you can do that. But understanding it is a huge moment. And then knowing that you're able to change those stories. And then what happens? How do you change a story? You have to learn. How do we learn? We have to put together the puzzle, right? So let's say you want a different story about money. You have to start collecting a lot of pieces of the puzzle of how money is great and money is available and money is something that's good in the world. Whatever it is that you need to gather now new information. It takes time. We are so programmed to get immediate satisfaction. Why? Because we're on survival mode. Do you remember how we work on survival mode from the lion? It's immediate satisfaction. There's an event, we feel our safety, meaning, and purpose, and then we get the spike of dopamine. We're immediately feeling good. And that's what we think, because we're living on so many black chips, that's what we think is the way to live, but it's not. And then that becomes like an addiction. Why? Because if you have to learn something new now, you are literally going to be going through detox, because the body is still working on the black chips. It wants to continue to predict on those black chips because that's what it knows. And while you're building a new story, you have to be patient. You have to understand it takes time, just like learning how to walk. And you don't know how long it's going to take. But at some point, if you're very consistent, that story becomes the full puzzle and it gets the white tag. It gets the white tag for a good feeling. And what happens then? It goes into your subconscious and it flips the black chip to a white chip. And from that point, when the brain is predicting your future through that story, it's going to be a totally different story. You're going to see your future differently. So what is attracting? What is the law of attraction? Basically, that's it. If you're living on black chips, you're attracting the stories that come from the prediction of those black chips. If you're able to flip chips to white, as many as possible, you will be looking through those chips at the world. And then what happens? You're attracting through those stories and you're working through those stories. So things have to change. Now, this is a very, very important moment. I really, really want you to understand this and re-listen to this if you need again. But that is as simple as it is. It's just changing your story, using your brain consciously to pick new stories. So yeah, it takes time. Yes, it's not easy. Yes, it's like detox. But if you decide that your life matters to you, that you want to live a better life, that you want to feel good every single day and not feel stressed, then this is the only way to learn how to change your stories that you are living through. This is a computer. You have a programming system. Nothing can be different unless you learn how to change. Okay? So the most important thing is to remember it takes time. It might not be easy at first because you're basically trying to work like on white chips, but your chip is really still black. So there's a lot of resistance from your body. You're still going to be going automatically into those stories and trying to live through that. But if you are consistent and you're able to take the time and put the work, you are going to change your life. That's what I want you to understand today. So now I want to go back to the hunter and gatherer. Basically, we can say that the hunter-gatherer was, let's say, 95% white chips and 5% black chips. And in the modern world, we are totally the opposite. We have 95% black chips and 5% white chips. What happened? How did we come to this situation? Let's look about 10,000 years ago, the agricultural revolution. Now, what happened then? Everybody stopped moving, or mostly people stopped moving. They understood if they stay in one place, they can have a crop, and that crop can keep them going for longer than just a few days. And that is safe in your eyes, right? Because you'll have food. You'll have the safety of the food being there for a longer time. What else happened? The families grew and grew and grew. And now there's so many people that it's a little harder to really manage this big group. So what happens? Systems are brought into the world. Now, even as an agricultural farm, someone owns the farm, someone is working for the owner of the farm. Now what happens then? You have to keep those people wanting to stay there. And what's a good way of doing it? Yes, you have to plant some fear. Because if they have some fear, then they shut down everything that's creative. They don't want to do anything else, and they stay with you. So you say, if you try to run away, this and this will happen to you. If you don't do this and this and that, then this will happen to you. And then people started planting fear stories in other people's heads. Now, what systems do we have until this day? We have countries. We have stories. I come from the biggest place of stories of war and everything. Stories are planted in your brain through a system. Why? Because people need to be managed. There's too many people. So you have countries, you have politics, you have even jobs, corporate, any system, religion. And this is not saying anything bad about any type of religion. I think and I believe that all religions have amazing things. If you just look at the basic core of the religion, what happened was people took all that information and started planting fear stories into people's brains in order to keep them around. Okay? So what happened with time, these fear stories from all these different systems are being planted. Now, a couple, if you take a few thousands after, like 5,000 years ago, there are already a lot of fear stories, a lot of black chips that have been turned from white to black. And what happens, we said, we basically inherit the board from our parents because they're teaching us all of those black chips. So slowly, there is an evolution of these black chips and these boards. And as years go by, we're getting more and more black chips on our inherited board. But what's the problem? Nobody's telling us. Nobody is telling us that this has happened. So another thing to know about these systems is they are taking the place of the family community. If we go back to the hunter-gatherer, we said we felt safe while we were in our family. What happens as the years go by, the systems are taking the place a little bit of the family. And the safety is coming through belonging to some of these systems. And slowly, these systems get bigger and bigger, and we are belonging to more and more systems. We're getting more and more fear stories. We're flipping more and more of our chips to black until we get to the modern world. And where we are at right now, most of our board is black. And we do not even know that we have the ability to change anything. I want to take you for a second to something I call the chemistry lab. And this is just a way of kind of understanding what's going on in our brain. So if we walk into this chemistry lab and there's this huge TV in front of us, the TV is representing our thoughts, because every thought, we said, is a story. It's basically a little video of a lot of different things. So we project a thought. A thought is a story with an emotional tag. We put it on our TV and we have a feeling from it. It could be a bad feeling if we get all the chemicals of stress, or it could be a good feeling if we're getting the chemicals of safety. It's all up to us. So if you're sitting right now, okay, and I'm flipping now this picture, look at this. This picture will make you feel stressed. You see a person that doesn't have money, you might even have felt that at some point. Without changing anything, you're sitting in the same place. I'm just going to flip the picture and look at this picture. Oh, now you're feeling good. You're feeling Caribbean. You're feeling vacation. You're feeling all of those good chemicals. Did anything change? No. Only the picture that your brain is seeing right now has changed. And that's how it works. There are only thoughts. And they say we have 65,000 thoughts a day. So imagine if 95% of them are coming from your black chips, you're living survival mode 95% of the day. And what happens in survival mode? In survival mode, the body shuts down everything that has to do with creativity. It shuts down systems in the body in order to divert the blood to different places. Now, if you live on this situation most of your life, what are you doing? You're bringing in disease because your body is not meant to live that way. And if those systems keep working that way, that they're not working their proper way because of survival mode and being shut down, not getting enough blood to do digestion even, you're gonna feel bad physically. We all know already that our thoughts can control how we feel. And sickness comes also from a place of the environment and how we live our life. It's already a known fact. But if you can look at it as living with a threat all the time, but the threat is not real, there's no lion there. You're living as though there's a lion, and you have these stories that feel like a lion, but they aren't really there. They're all in your brain. They're all coming off of your black chips. Now, I always say everything that happens to you in your life is your decision. But when you hear this for the first time, the first reaction is, I did not want this life. But you know what? You created it unconsciously. Now, don't feel bad about it. But do take this information in order to change your life. Because if everything has to do with what you create for yourself, and that feels like bad news, that is also the good news. It means that you can change everything in your life. And that is the good news. And that's what I want you to take from this whole thing. I want you to understand that you can change. Now let's talk a little bit about reality. Reality is only what you created for yourself. Okay, we have a personality. What is it? Our personal reality. So if we can change our personality, we can change our reality. And this is exactly what we're talking about here. You have to learn your board. You have to learn where you're at right now in order to be able to change it. In a way, you need to become familiar with your program. But we know already there's no real way to know how it was programmed because it was done when we were in hypnosis. But what you can do is you can follow how you feel about anything. If you have something that you feel bad about, you know you're working off a black chip. If there's something that you feel good about, you know you're working off a white chip. So what are we learning from all of this? There is no such thing. This is my reality, right? Because your reality is happening from your personality. Why is it from your personality? Because it's your black chips. And you say, that's who I am. What is who you are? Who you are is just these stories that were planted in you. That's not who you are. You can be anything that you want. You can have anything that you want. You can be whoever you want. You just have to learn how to create those new stories and plant them in your programming system. So really what this whole board theory is for is to help you understand that you can change your reality. Not just can, you have to. If you want to feel better, the only way is to change your programming. And I'm going to talk a lot about how to change your programming, but the first part that's most important for me is that people understand that they have a choice. You have a choice of what you project in your brain on that TV in the chemistry lab, and you have a choice how you live your life, whether off black chips on the board or white chips on the board. So obviously, we're not going to get to a whole whiteboard. I think that when you have a whiteboard, that's when you cross over, just as it is when you come in, enter to this world. We also need to have some black chip experiences because that's how we grow. In order to be able to change and grow and learn, you have to have something that you need to learn. So the black chips are basically the compass. They're showing you the way of what you need to learn and where you have something that needs to change in order for you to feel better. And that's why I also say when there's something that feels really bad that's happening to you, you broke up with somebody or you don't have money, you pick how you perceive it. That's just the event. You can think about it in different ways. You can feel bad for days and months and weeks and cry and go down the rabbit hole with bad feelings. Or you can look at it and say, oh, here's a black chip. That means that something better is waiting for me and that I have a learning process that I can go through because I was shown that this is a black chip. So the last metaphor that I want to talk about is the cocoon. If you know, we have the caterpillar, it just stays in one place, it eats its food, and it's not very mobile. But the caterpillar is able to go into a cocoon. And what happens in the cocoon? The caterpillar is literally becoming a DNA soup, they call it, in order to rebuild itself into something totally different, the butterfly. And that time in the cocoon is the time of the change. And slowly the butterfly is able to open the cocoon. It's not easy, but it tries for a long time to open the cocoon, come out, and even when it comes out, it stands there, it needs to dry up, it needs to catch a breath from all the hard work and the huge change, but eventually it will fly away and it can be anywhere. Okay? Now that is exactly what you can go through. You can go into a cocoon basically and change who you are. As we said, if you really want to change your reality, you have to change your personality. How do you change your personality? You go into the cocoon and you do the work and you do the learning process of creating new white chips for your board. And eventually you'll be able to come out of your cocoon of transformation and be the butterfly that you are. And I strongly believe that every single person in this world is a potential butterfly. The only difference between us and the butterfly is that the caterpillar goes through this automatically. Nature has done it for it automatically. And people, we have free will. We have a choice. It's our choice to decide to go into the cocoon. It's not easy. We're in detox, as we said. It's like getting rid of an addiction. It's very comfortable where we're knowing everything. But if you really want to change, it's your choice to go into the cocoon and stay there as long as needed to create a totally new personality that feels good, that feels happy, that understands that this world is to be with joy and happiness and feel safe, have a meaning and purpose that is real and not one that comes from survival mode. Once you're able to work on safe mode, and everybody knows what their safe mode feels like, because we're not 100% all the time in survival mode. We do have those things that make us happy. Think even about falling in love. When you're in love, what happens? Survival mode shuts down. Just the same that in survival mode, we shut down our place of creativity, of feeling good, of feeling safe, the frontal cortex. When you're feeling happy and safe, you can shut down survival mode. And that is an amazing feeling. You feel that when you're in love. You feel that if you're an artist doing any kind of art. You might have felt it with a relationship, not even just in love, but with colleagues, with friends. We have times that our body has a white chip that it's working off of, and it's feeling good. So all we have to do now is remember as much as possible, remind our body what it feels like to be in safe mode. Safe mode is where we want to be 70-80% of the day, at least. That is our game in this world. We get a board. We get it from our parents. We start our life at the age of 7 with this board that we were given. And we can play if we decide to go into the cocoon. Everybody learns about this at a different stage in their life. It could be because somebody got sick. It could be because they are feeling really, really bad and they're looking for a meaning of life. Whenever it is that you see this, you start. There's no age. And don't feel bad about the years that went by and you did not know this information. That's it. It's gone. It's in the past. Create your future. That is what's important. I want everybody to understand that they're able to create their new future at any age. This is not an age thing. Remember, you had to go through whatever it is that you went through in order to get to this point that you're ready for this information. So I really want you to just look at your life and say, okay, I am making a choice now, and I'm going to go into my cocoon and I'm going to create a new reality for myself. This information is very important for me to share with as many people in the world, especially at this time that we're talking also about things that are happening with AI. And as the modern world takes over all the stress mode, all of the place that we're in survival, I see that AI is going to make that even more extreme. And I want people to learn ahead of time how they can go into safe mode, which is not dependent on anything, not on a job, not on other people. If you really feel safe, it's from within you. It's not because of other people. You want to learn and teach your body how to feel safe and how to live from that place. So no matter what happens, you can stay in that situation of feeling good, of feeling safe. So obviously I'm going to have other videos that are going to be talking about more things about how you can change and what I think about AI. But in the meantime, this is the most important message that I have. And again, this is not me. This is not information that I made up. I'm just a hunter-gatherer in a way. I just gathered a lot of information from my teachers. I have a lot of teachers that I love listening to, whether it's Joe Dispenza, which is all about the quantum mechanics, or Bruce Lipton about epigenetics. I listened to Tony Robbins for many years in the past. I have Abraham Hicks. I have Louise Hay. I have Wayne Dyer. There's so many amazing teachers out there, and you might have seen The Secret, and these are messages that all of these people are saying again and again and again. It's so important that everybody learns they have a choice. Basically, that's the secret. You have a remote. You can change what you see on your TV. And as you saw, it doesn't matter what's really going on. Only what goes on in your brain, the story that you put in your brain, is going to run your life and how you feel. So I think I can end here right now. And I really want to tell everybody that I hope the message was clear enough that it helps you understand that you have a choice. And I'm wishing everybody that's watching this to go into your cocoon and don't give up. Don't give up. You are a butterfly.